Former UVA basketball assistant Jim Larrañaga steps down at Miami for familiar reasons. Chris Graham here at Augusta Free Press. When I first heard this news yesterday, Thursday, I'm recording on Friday. The first thought I had was the 27-second press conference Jim Larrañaga had after Virginia had just pounded Miami 60 to 38 last February. Um, at that point, coming into that game, Miami was 15-7 overall, 6-5 in the ACC. They had just been in the Final Four the year before, right? So, I mean, this was um, a good Miami team that just needed to, get back on track. As it turns out, that bad loss to Virginia turned into a 10-game season-ending losing streak for Miami basketball. Now, that press conference lasted all of one question. Um, the backstory there is when Tony Bennett was the coach, which was up till just a couple months ago. He always was first in press conferences, really either way, road or home. He would say a couple words to his team, go get the press conference over. He didn't like having to do them, so he wanted to get it done as soon as possible. And Larinaga beat him to the press conference. He basically just walked straight to the press conference room, which, the reporters who cover EVA regularly are well aware. Get down there quickly. Tony's going to be down there within a couple of minutes. Larinaga sits down, and I think it was Jeff White was the only guy really kind of ready to get the questions out. And he asked a question just about, just trying to ask how the game went, just a basic question. And Larrinaga's answer was the game. They just outplayed us in every aspect of the game. We didn't play well. They played really well. Thank you for your attention. He got up and left. That was great. We didn't get down there in time to even see that. It was something we had to see on YouTube later. So, I mean, best post-game presser ever, but also the beginning of the end of the coaching career for Larranaga. They went 0-10 at the end of the 2023-2024 season. Obviously missed the NCAA tournament with that finish. They start this season 4-8. And the loss Charleston Southern on November 30th was sort of an indication of where things were headed. That was at that point fourth straight loss. Miami had started the season off 3-0. You lose at home to Charleston Southern. No offense to Charleston Southern, but that's not a game you're booking to lose, or even be competitive. And then the final game, as it turns out, was another loss of that nature, a 78-74 home loss to Mount St. Mary's over last weekend, in what turned out to be his last game. So the reason he's stepping down, though, I mean, yeah, 4-8 this season, 4-18 in his last 22, but it's just as much, if not a lot more, similar to the reason Tony Bennett stepped down. I got some quotes from a story in The Athletic, and it's really revealing. First thing that I pointed out in a column I wrote on this, I just didn't feel, this is Larry I just didn't feel like I could successfully navigate this whole new world that I was dealing with. Um, Part of that is he's 75 years old. A source close to Larinaga from his UVA days let us know that the gym is just not physically up to coaching right now, that Larinaga is physically exhausted, and he had thought about retiring after the 2023-2024 season, as did Bennett. But then he talked himself into another year, as did Bennett, after taking a couple weeks off. Um, Only Nigel Pack is back from that 2022-2023 Final Four team. And he himself had been lured to Miami by NIL money. There are still several guys from that team, the Final Four team, that are playing in college basketball. Norchad Omier is now at Baylor. Wooga Poplar's at Villanova. We saw him earlier this year. Virginia beat Villanova. Harlan Beverly's at Wichita State. Bensley Joseph is at Providence. I remember that kid. Pretty solid looking young point guard. Never really got a chance to be the lead guy. AJ Casey's at St. Louis. Another quote from Larry Nega. What shocked me beyond belief was after we made it to the Final Four just 18 months ago, the very first time I met with the players after that, eight of them had decided they were going to put their name in the portal and leave. I said, "Don't you like it here?" "No, I love it. I love Miami. It's great." But the opportunity to make money someplace else created a situation that you have to begin to ask yourself as a coach, what is this all about? Tony Bennett wasn't that explicit, but he said a lot of the same things. Larinaga now was making 2.5 million a year at Miami, so he's making good money. It's well below market value for an ACC head coach, but still obviously very good money. And I don't get the sense that he begrudges the kids making money. I wouldn't be happy with that if he did. If he can make 2.5 million, the kids can make some money too. It's just that the job is different than it was just a few years ago, much less. I mean, this guy's been coaching since he was a head coach in the late 70s at American International. He coached at UVA in the Ralph Sampson years, became a head coach again. He's been doing this for a long, long time. He says now it's a pro sport. You have to have a pro mentality. You have to have a pro system in place to deal with all of it. If we're going to have agents, if we're going to be paying substantial amounts of money, there needs to be some accountability for all that. That will happen eventually, sooner rather than later, but not soon enough for guys like Jim Larrañaga and Tony Bennett. The NCAA and its member institutions, their presidents and ADs, will eventually realize that it's up to them to change the rules to allow schools to enter into long-term contracts with top recruits, treating the relationship between schools and student athletes more like a work-study arrangement. That's actually how Larrañaga phrased it. Let's do work study with these kids. He thinks that's the best model. I don't disagree. Work study. I love the concept. Um, Whatever's coming in that respect won't come for another year or two. We'll see. In the here and now, college athletics is a wild, wild west. Guys are free agents as soon as the season ends. They can be free agents during the season. Just declare themselves done and hit the transfer portal. And if you're a guy like Tony Bennett, like a Jim Larrañaga, and you know you're not the best guy to be in place to handle this, it's probably best to move on. I admire that. Tony Bennett got criticism for quitting 2 weeks before the season. Jim Larrañaga is going to get criticism for quitting during the season. But this is what he had to say about that. When I'm not able to do that, I say to myself, you need to step down. I needed to step aside and let someone who is better equipped to handle this new world than I am do the job. For Augusta Free Press, I'm Chris Graham.